A Song of Ice and Fire needs to be stopped. No, it doesn't. That's just the title of this series. Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be checking out the A Song of Ice and Fire mod for EU4. Before we begin, consider leaving a like and subscribing if you enjoyed this video. Only 10% of you are subscribed, so it would really mean a lot. Let's get started. So, A Song of Ice and Fire is a total overhaul mod for EU4 which aims to blend the worlds of Game of Thrones together with the mechanics of EU4. And it has everything that you would expect from the Game of Thrones world, which of course you would know from the A Song of Ice and Fire book or the Game of Thrones TV series. So as you can see, this mod has multiple start dates all the way from the year 100 called A Shattered World to the year 304 with the title The Night King. In today's video, we're going to be checking out the War of the Five Kings start date because as you know, this is when the show A Game of Thrones starts, but we are going to be rolling back 1 year basically prior to the events of the show so we can check everything out before the actual start date. This would be like me starting on November 10th, 1444 in regular EU4 as opposed to November 11th, something like that. So let's jump into the game and see everything that this mod has to offer. So I'm in the game right now, and like I said, it's 1 year before the events of the show start. And this is what the continent of Westeros looks like. This would probably be most familiar to you, even to casual fans of the series or the show. Of course, we have the Seven Kingdoms right here. And if you've ever wondered why they're called the Seven Kingdoms when there are actually 9 of them, it's because at the time of the establishing of the Seven Kingdoms, they were in fact 7 and not 9. Basically, the Crown Lands wasn't a kingdom. This land was shared by other kingdoms, and basically the Iron Islands weren't part of the Seven Kingdoms. So in this mod, the Crown Lands are actually represented as basically the ruling kingdom out of all of these, and all the other kingdoms are represented as royal subjects. So this is a type of subject for this mod, and all the other kingdoms are of course subservient to the Crownlands. And if you need a refresher or don't know what they are, we have Dorne here in the south, which is ruled by House Martell with Lord Dorne Martell as their head. Then we have the Stormlands, which is ruled by Lord Stannis Baratheon. Of course, he is the brother of King Robert Baratheon, who is the king of all the Seven Kingdoms, as we can see right here, King Robert Baratheon. Administrative 1, military 6, yep, that's pretty accurate. We have the Reach, ruled by Lord Mace Tyrell, the Westerlands, ruled by Lord Tywin Lannister, and of course Jaime is an heir. Then we have the Riverlands, ruled by House Tully, the Iron Islands, ruled by Lord Quaelon Greyjoy, and of course Balon is the heir. We have the Vale, still ruled by Lord Jon Arryn, whose death actually kicks off the Game of Thrones series. And of course we have the North, ruled by Lord Eddard Stark, rest in peace. And we have the Night's Watch up here, basically represented as sort of independent. Of course they are the protectors of the realm from the north. Up here beyond the wall we have some wildling tribes. If you want to compare them to regular U4, you could say that they are natives. And all the way up here we even have the others, ruled by the Night King. He's a 666 ruler, and let me tell you, the others have some crazy ideas which we will be checking out very soon. And that's basically the continent of Westeros. If you go into the regions, the kingdoms are basically the same as the regions, and so are the trade nodes. Each kingdom is basically its own trade node, with Beyond the Wall being an entire trade node and a region as well. But the Night Watch is its own region as well. If we go into the diplomatic map mode, of course, we will see this, that all the kingdoms are subjects of the Crownlands. Now, I did expect that this system would be represented by the Holy Roman Empire system in regular U4, but it's not, no big deal. Everyone here is Tech 17. You might be wondering why it's yellow. That's because there are some kingdoms over here which are Tech 20, which we will get into soon. Going over into the culture map mode, of course, nearly the entire continent are in the Andal culture, with subcultures such as Northmen, Ironborns, Westermans, Riverlanders, Valemen, you get the point. And we have, of course, here the original Andals. This is basically where all of these guys came from. We have another culture group, the First Men. These guys arrived here before the Andals, as you might know. And we have the Crannogmen and the Mountain Men, and the Wildlings and Skagosi are also in this culture group. And of course the people of Dorne are in their own culture group, the Roinar culture group. We have Sand Dornish, Salt Dornish, and Stone Dornish, and they are related to these cultures here and here. Going into the religion map mode, of course, you would know that most of the continent follows the faith of the Seven, which is basically the official faith of the Seven Kingdoms. The Ironborn do have their own faith, and they do believe in the Drowned God, and of course we have the old gods up in the north and beyond the wall, and the others appear to have their own faith called Cryomancy. Is the wall a level like 20 castle? No, it's not. It's just a level 5 one, and that is pretty cool that it is a level 5, since all the other castles seem to be level 3 max, and yes, they are. And that is basically the continent of Westeros. Now going into West Essos, these are also some nations that might be familiar to you from Daenerys's or Arya's travels, and these are all very wealthy kingdoms. Now these are in fact city-states basically, and they would be very tiny, probably like this size, but this basically represents sort of the extent of their power, so that they aren't just one province here and one province over there. We have Lys, Tyrosh, Muir, Volantis, of course, a little more this way, Pentos, Bravos, the wealthy kingdoms over here, and all the other ones. You already know them. The regions are basically the same as the kingdoms, almost. This is what the trade nodes look like, and you can see that all trade diverts into the Narrow Sea and then out into other directions, with the Crown Lands appropriately, in King's Landing being the end node. In Westeros, we have some smaller islands here with various clans and nations ruling, and the culture is of course very different. Here we have the North Essos culture group, as well as the West Essos culture group and the South Essos culture group, and you already know that the Roinar from here and the Stonemen, like I said, are in the same culture group as the Dornish. This continent does have very different religions to Westeros, so we have this religion right here, this one right here, Lady of the Waves, the Bearded Priests, Remnants of Boash, Moon Singers. We do have the Faith of the Seven over here, where other Andal nations inhabit this region. Now going over to Central Essos and another part of West Essos, basically this whole area right here. First we're gonna go into the culture group, and here we have the Dothraki, which are basically hordes. That's pretty much the same explanation as we have in the books and the show. They are sort of modeled after real life hordes, and they would have the same mechanics as hordes in EU4. And there are various Dothraki nations over here. These are all basically hordes, and here we have the Drogo horde, which everyone does know. And these are all the other hordes in this area basically, as well as some East Essos culture groups, South Essos culture groups, and here of course we have the region of the ruins of Valyria, where the Targaryens come from, and basically where the kingdom of Valyria was, according to the lore that it's destroyed by now. Right next to it we have the Slavers Bay region, all these wealthy nations over here such as Meereen, Yunkai, and Astapor. And if we go into the development map mode, you can see basically the three wealthiest cities of Meereen, Yunkai, and Astapor right here, and other provinces sort of in their realm, and they do follow the Giscari pantheon faith. Up here we have some more hordes, Dothraki tribes, and up here we have the nation of Eben, which I've only seen in passing by sort of, so I'm not going to go too much into that. Moving further along in Far Essos, now this is the region that we know the least about. It's mostly been explored pretty much up to Karth right here, and not a lot is known about these except from in-lore legends and myths. We can see their culture right here, Jungle Yiddish, Yogos Nahai. I know there are some shadow folk living over here, as we can see according to this, and we have Ashai right here. Basically lots of myths surround these nations over here, but they do have the highest tech, some of these guys, as we can see here, these kingdoms here, here, and here. And now I would assume that maybe it's because these nations are more advanced in magic and stuff like that, that they have higher tech rather than militarily. They do follow the Lion of the Night. We have Moonsingers right here, various cults, the cult of the shadows, and things like that. This is what the trade nodes look like. We have another end node right here in Yeti, as we can see. Of course, down here we have the continent of Ulthos, which little is known about, and here we have the continent of Sothorios, of course, which we also know a little about, except for some tribes basically that are living in the far north of it. Here we have the Summer Isles. Lots of people know about these already, and this is pretty much the overview of the world in A Song of Ice and Fire, at least everything that we know about, which G.R.R. RRM has put out so far. There may be a little non-canon fiction here and there to fill in some areas that we don't know much about, but it's very accurately depicted, well, at least as accurate as can be in a game like EU4. Now back to Westeros, and as you know, the story of A Song of Ice and Fire kicks off with the death of the ruler of the Vale, Jon Arryn. That is how the story starts. Later, Robert Baratheon, king of the Seven Kingdoms, dies, and when King Joffrey ascends to the throne, basically there is a scandal about his heritage and how King Robert is not actually his father, and this kicks off the War of the Five Kings, where Lord Eddard Stark informs Lord Stannis Baratheon that he is actually the rightful heir of the Seven Kingdoms, and of course Lord Stannis Baratheon declares himself rightful king. So that's one. We have King Joffrey, that's two. We have Lord Renly Baratheon, which is the younger brother of Robert Baratheon, as the third king. In the north, Robert Stark, the son of Lord Eddard Stark, declares himself king, and he is the fifth king. And of course Lord Quaelon Greyjoy declares himself independent from the Seven Kingdoms, and there we have the Five Kings and the War of the Five Kings. Well, basically in the background of this, the others are preparing their long-awaited invasion of the continent of Westeros and are starting to make their way down to the wall. This is what the ages look like in this mod, and it's basically only one age, the Seats of Power age. And the age objectives are basically provinces that you need to own in order to build up splendor, and here we can see all the age abilities. So we have home turf advantage, +1 combat bonus in the terrain of capital. We know this from regular EU4. We have integrated spies, which is basically the transfer subject at half cost and claims bordering claims. We have colonial incentives, +1 on every category on Finnish colonies. Ignore coring distance, this is from the later ages in EU4, the Age of Revolution. Forced march costs no power. Trusted merchants, +1 merchants. Trusted diplomats, +1 diplomats. We have administrative genius, monthly admin points +1, monthly diplo points +1, monthly mill points +1, and unquestionable legitimacy. It doesn't say what it does, but I'm guessing it gives you yearly legitimacy. Here we have the great powers, and basically the Crownlands is the #1 great power, which is basically the entirety of the Seven Kingdoms, followed by Yeti over here, Karth, which is right here, Pentos in the west of Essos, Volantis in the southwest of Essos, Myr right here between them, Leng, which is an island nation right here, and Norvos, another nation in West Essos. Those are the great powers, and as you can see, of course, the Seven Kingdoms are disproportionately larger than all the other ones. Interestingly, like I said, the Seven Kingdoms mechanic isn't represented through the Holy Roman Empire interface, but it is represented through the Mandate of Heaven interface, and it's called the Iron Throne. As we can see, being the ruler of the Seven Kingdoms gives the following benefits: bonuses from high royal authority, uses meritocracy mechanics, can enact royal edict decisions, can enforce royal subjects on noble house. The Iron Throne is losing authority by 0.05 per month, and let's jump into the Crownlands to see everything we can do with this mechanic. So the first royal edict is standardized currency, and if we enact it, we will gain national tax modifier +20%. The second edict is forbid first night custom, and if we enact it, we gain national unrest -2. The third edict is establish the King's Guard, and if we enact it, we get average monarch lifespan +25%, which is a very cool modifier, something that of course isn't present in regular EU4. Next we have recover Valyrian blades, and we get +5% discipline if we enacted, another very strong edict. And the final edict is centralize the houses, and if we enact it, we get monthly administrative power +1. And here we have some royal decrees, which of course cost meritocracy to enact, similarly to the Mandate of Heaven mechanics. Of course, we have expanded bureaucracy, which will give us dev cost and core creation cost -10%, conduct census, which gives us +25% national tax, attract sellswords, which gives us -33% mercenary cost and +25% mercenary power, increase tariff controls, we get +25% provincial trade power, imperial scorched earth tactics gives us +15% siege ability, standardized military training gives us +10% infantry combat ability, post royal ceremony gives us diplo rep +3, support centers of learning gives us mastery spread plus 33%, which is sort of like institutions. Post grand jousting tournament gives us plus 1 year prestige and plus 10% nobility loyalty equilibrium. And finally we have established grain reserves, which gives us -2 national arrest. All very powerful decrees and all very powerful edicts, if I have to say so myself. Now I know that the flag of the Crownlands and the ruling kingdom here is the Targaryen flag, but I guess it is what it is. Of course, here we have the most devout interface, which is basically the interface for the faith of the seven. And here we have the 6 kingdoms, which have active septons. I guess the Westerlands doesn't have any active ones, so they don't show up here, but it's basically the Curia interface. And here are some of the interactions we can do: plus 1 yearly meritocracy, -25% staff cost, plus 10% infantry combat ability, plus 100% chance of new heir, plus 20% production efficiency, -20 advisor cost, -10 idea cost, lose -5% militancy of the faith. This is basically related to the fact that those crazy cult guys rise up and take control basically of the entire kingdom. Going into the idea groups, and there are a ton of idea groups, as we can see. Now it would be too much to go through all of them individually, but we have innovation, which we know, religion, which we know, economic expansion, admin, and harmony. These are basically the regular ones renamed. But then we do have law ideas, development ideas, absolutism ideas, autonomy ideas, and faith of the seven ideas. In Diplo we know all of these, and here are the new ones. We have assimilation, society, propaganda, naval bombardment, naval skirmish, naval trade, naval organization, naval leadership, and naval tactics. So you can definitely go very heavy navy focused here in this mod. In military ideas we know all of these, and we have professional army, mercenary army, army organization, army leadership, army tactics, armaments, fortification, militarization, subjugation, tyranny, and imperialism. So you can pick way more than regular EU4, but you do still have only 8 idea slots. There are no unique missions in this mod yet. Going into buildings, we also have lots of buildings such as civic buildings, town hall, tavern, market, farm, mine, church, supply depot, paved road, drill square, barracks, shipyard, and dock. We have commerce buildings like manufacturing and center of trade, fortifications like moat and bailey, castle, fortress, citadel, and grand projects like Grand Palace, merchants quarters, cathedral, tourney grounds, military academy, and naval academy. Now I have tagged in as the others just to show you their ideas. Basically, we know the Night King is a 666 ruler and he's 217 years old, and his traits are immortal, calm, and silver tongue. Now going into White Walker ideas, we can see that they start off with -75% land attrition and reinforced costs, followed by +1 yearly army tradition, -50 fire and shock damage received, +33% movement speed, +20 morale of armies, -25% core creation cost, +20% manpower recovery speed, all powers costs -25%, and finally finishing with +20% discipline. And they've already started with society ideas and mercenary ideas, as we can see, since there are 4 idea slots open if you go into this start date already. And of course the goal of the White Walkers is to advance and take over all of Westeros. Now I've tagged into the Night's Watch, and we can see their level 5, the Wall Fort, and Castle Black, which is a level 3 fort as well. And their ideas focus on basically defending the wall, with ideas such as garrison size +100%, fort defense +100%, infantry combat, discipline, dev cost, construction cost, manpower recovery, and land maintenance. And they've started with exploration and expansion ideas. I guess you could move up as the Night's Watch to try and take out the others before they get to you, which would be a pretty fun campaign, to be honest, although attrition in these lands might be insane. And that's pretty much the most important things that we need to cover about this mod, A Song of Ice and Fire. And this is one of the most popular mods for EU4 of all time, with over 100,000 subscribers, and I definitely recommend for you guys to check out this mod, even if you're not a fan of A Song of Ice and Fire or Game of Thrones. If you've never read the books or watched the show, you should still check it out. If you've played EU4, you're gonna have lots of fun, and for every fan of the A Song of Ice and Fire series, this will be a ton of fun for you playing as any nation. Really, I do recommend starting out in Westeros and doing your own little alt history route of how the story goes. Maybe you've always wanted to see the Targaryen wins. Maybe you're in the 0.1% of people who like Joffrey, so you can play as the Crownlands and take over the entire continent of Westeros. Maybe you want to play as the North and avenge Lord Eddard Stark, or as the Night Watch, or even the others. No matter who you play with, you will have lots of fun, even as nations in Essos. Of course, huge shout out to the creator of this mod, Vossair, and everyone that they have credited. So the CK2 AGOT development team, Nucky, Ztris, Riveregg, and Theo. This is one of the best mods for EU4, and you have to definitely check it out for yourself. It is compatible with 1.31. I am on 1.31 right now. No monuments yet. Hopefully they'll be added, but go ahead and check out the mod in the link in the description. And let me know in the comments what's the next mod that you would like to see me showcase. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like and subscribe. Only 10% of you are subscribed, so it would really mean a lot. And I've also launched channel memberships, so if you want to support the channel with more than subscribing, you can check out the join button down below and join the Discord. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another EU4 video.